What's up, everybody? My name's Jim. I'm going to start this YouTube channel because I'm already out here making all kinds of stuff. I've already got the equipment. My wife and I have another YouTube channel called Livin' Naughty, N-A-U-T-I. That's we do all kinds of fishing videos, catch and cook videos. We haven't been doing it for very long. And when I'm not fishing, I am working on the CNC machine and doing other woodworking. So I figured maybe I can teach you guys something. The software I use when I do all my CNC work is Vectric. I use Vectric Aspire. But pretty much everything that I'm going to be doing, you can do in the lesser versions of Vectric. You don't have to spend the money on Aspire. Unless you're really getting into a lot of 3D modeling and stuff like that. So basically what I'm going to be doing in this video is making a very simple Christmas tray. I made this one yesterday. It turned out really well. This whole piece was made using 4 different bits, 4 tool changes. And you could actually get away with using 3 bits on this. I'll explain to you why I used 4 in a little bit when I get into how I program the software to do this. The project I'm going to be making right now for you guys, it's going to be this exact same setup but a different shape. So I'm going to be doing a Christmas star that has like a snowflake inlaid in it. So I'm making these for 2 of my wife's friends. They're helping her set up for a Christmas party that we're having. So she wanted to do something nice for them. Let me rephrase that. She wanted me to do something nice for them. So that's what I'm making. So I hope you enjoy this channel. I don't even know what I'm going to call this channel yet, but got to come up with something. So I'm going to go over the toolpaths with you in Aspire and show you exactly how I set this up. Alright guys, we're going to get right into it here. I'm going to open up, I already have Vectric opened up here. First thing you're going to do, create new file. Like I said, I'm going to try to buzz through this fairly quick because you guys can rewind or whatever you need to do to see this. Like I said, if you have any questions on what I do, just leave a comment below. If you're stuck on something or having issues. And like I said, I'm not a pro. I've been doing this for about 1.5 years or so, almost 2 years. So I've got a pretty good grasp on how to do it. So all right, my job size, that's going to be your first box. Sorry, it's going to be your second box. Your first box is right here. This is going to be a single-sided carve. Job size width, it's going to be 17.5 inches. It's because that's the size of the board that I have. And it's going to be 14 inches tall. So you got your x-axis, which is your left to right, 17.5. Your y-axis up and down is 14 inches. And the thickness is 0.83 inches, so a little shy of an inch. This particular project, we're going to be zeroing off the material surface. We're going to do the XY datum in the bottom left corner. Most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, I zero off the bottom left. Occasionally, I do the center. Material settings, medium wood, that's fine. Resolution very high. And that looks good. Hit OK. So here we got our board, 17.5 by 14. The file that I'm going to be cutting today on this video, I got it off of Etsy. My wife picked it out. It was a file, I think it was $15, $18, something like that for 6 of them off Etsy. I'll put a description. I'll put a link in the description below so you guys, if you guys want to duplicate this file, you can. All right, so we're going to go to File. We're going to import. We're going to import. We're going to import the vectors. I already have this up. So this is the Christmas star tray. And we're going to do, I believe that's the... Yeah, that's the EPS file. So that's the one. I want this file. You can load a couple of these other ones in here. I'm not going to get into that now on how to do tracing and stuff like that. But For the purpose of this video, this came with the vector file, so that's what we're going to use. And it just imported it in. So this is our star file we're going to make. And once the file gets imported here, we're going to drag, select everything. We're going to go to the Transform Objects toolbar. And we're under the alignment tools. If you see where I just clicked that last one right here, and you click that, and we're going to align it top, bottom, right, left. The center one is going to put it right smack dab in the middle of that, of our material here. We're going to close out of that, and since everything's already selected, what we're going to do is we're going to go here to Transform Objects, and this is to set the object size. Normally, when you buy files off the internet, off Etsy or these other, there's tons of websites out there you can get vector files and stuff like, or 3D models. You're going to have to resize them. So we're going to hit resize, and we know our board. We're actually going to change this. So when this is clicked right here, this links your X and your Y together, so it keeps them the right dimensions. It doesn't offset it one way or the other the wrong way. So we know that we are 14 inches tall, which is our Y. So we're going to hit apply on that. See how it automatically changes your X to 14, a little over 14 and a half inches, which is fine because our material width is 17 and a half inches. So that doesn't matter. And that made it just, that would probably work. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to back this off just a smidge. Let's do, just so I have more room. It's not cutting. Let me do, I'm going to do 13 3/4 on the bottom. That way it backs it off my material here just a tiny bit. And that'll be just fine. Because my plan when I do the profile pass on this, I don't want it cutting into my, on the very bottom of my Y, I have a guide down here. So I don't want that bit really cutting into that. So I'm going to back that off of that just a tiny bit, so that 1/8 inch bit will pass through here without a problem when I cut this thing out. So we're going to close that. Okay guys, now that we have our shape, our vector star, where exactly we want it on the material surface, we're going to shoot over to the toolpath menu. This little button right here in the top left corner, next to the drawing, you'll see the toolpath menu. I already have it open over here. So what we're going to do, generally when I do a file, I do the pocketing toolpaths first, and you're going to want to profile it last. So what we're going to do is this inside vector here of the star. What I was talking to you earlier about why I use 4 different bits on this file. This is why, and this is how I'm going to set it up. So you could use 3 bits. I chose to do the roughing bit. I love that bit. It's from IDC Woodcraft. He calls it the hog. It's because you can run it way faster and it chews through material. You can chew through material twice as fast with that hog bit as you can a standard 1/4 inch 2-flute end mill. So it's a little bit pricey, but it's worth every penny because you can clear out big areas a lot faster with it. Especially with a machine like what I have. It's more of a, a hobby type CNC machine. It uses a Makita trim router. I don't even know if I even said what I have or not, but it's the long mill MK2. It's a great CNC for what it is. But when you're dealing with a hobby machine that's not commercial grade, I'm not running a 6 horsepower spindle on it. There's only so fast you can cut with these things, but the Beast does speed it up a little bit. I'm sorry, not the Beast. The hog bit speeds it up just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to offset this inside vector by 3/1000 of an inch. So to do that, you click on this inside vector, to highlight it. You're going to go to back to your drawing tab. And down here at the very bottom left, you're going to see offset. So what this does is when you click this, it gives you the option up here. You can either offset this line outwards or inwards by whatever amount you specify. So I'm going to do it by 3/1000 inwards. And I want to check this box down here. It's already checked, but select new. So when it offsets it by 3/1000 of an inch, it's going to automatically select that for me. So we're going to click offset, and you'll see this was my original line, my original vectors right here, and this is the new one that the software just made for me. Exactly 3/1000 of an inch inwards. So now that this vector is selected here, now I can select my pocket toolpath. So this is going to be my pocket toolpath for my roughing bit. Sorry, let me close that out. Go right here. The second option over is your pocket toolpath. And we're going to do, that's not the right bit, so we're going to remove this bit. Go into our tool library. And it's an IDC Woodcraft bit. And right here under extended end mills, if you have their, if you have any IDC's bits downloaded, you can download their tool library right into your Vectric software. So I'm going to go right here to roughing end mill. I have my pass depth set at 0.2, and I'm doing a 40% step over at 80 inches per minute. And this is a little bit conservative. You can go a little bit more than this. I'm not on this just because it's a hardwood. If I was doing pine or something, you can actually, I believe he said you can do, I think it was a 50% step over, and you can run a little faster. I think you can do up to a 1/4 inch pass, but I'm not going to on this one. So we're going to click apply and select. We're going to do, I'm going to do a conventional cut, and I'm going to do an offset cut pattern. On this particular shape, I'm going to do a round, so offset is like a round cut, so it's going to start in the middle and work its way outwards, where a raster does back and forth. So in this particular shape, I think it's going to be better to do a raster, so that's what I'm going to do on this one. So everything looks good. I'm going to do a cut depth. Start depth is 0, which is the top of your material. I'm going to have this plunge down. It's going to do 3 passes, and it's going to reach a total maximum depth of 0.57 inches. Ramp plunge. I'll do a small ramp. You probably don't really need it on this bit, but I'll just do a 1/4 inch ramp move. So instead of the bit plunging straight into the material, basically it'll go in. It'll start back a 1/4 inch and slide into the material. On regular end mills, it's really important. Let me rephrase that. On down cut end mills, you want to always do a ramp, because on a down cut end mill, all your shavings are going down. So you don't want to plunge with it. An upcut, you can plunge with an upcut. I do it whenever I use it to make holes in something or whatever. But all right, so we selected, just to recap, we selected our inside vector that we just made, 3/1000 of an inch off of the main vector line here. We're going to calculate that. I'm going to close that. I don't want to watch the preview of that right now. We already know that's going to cut. So we're going to cut out this middle. And I believe it was, yeah, to 0.57 of an inch. Alright, one thing we're going to do now is I always rename my pass, because sometimes I'll make a file. I actually have another computer in my house. Sometimes I'll make a file in there and I don't end up actually getting to it for a little while. So you always want to name your tool path, name your tool, so you know, so you don't forget. So I'm just going to do roughing. Anytime I rough, it's the hog bit from IDC. So always name these damn things, because you will forget if you don't do it right away. Okay, so next tool path is our original vector line. So this is the one we just did. It's going to cut, our roughing bit is going to cut up to this line. and it's going to cut down 0.57. So now we want to do another pocket path. We're going to want to click this vector this time. This is the original vector that we imported. But what we're going to change here now is I'm going to do it just a tiny bit deeper. I'm going to do it, let's say 3/1000 of an inch deeper. So instead of the 0.57, we're going to go to 0.60. That'll be 3/1000 of an inch deeper than our roughing pass is. And it's going to bump over because we selected this vector line, which is 3/1000 of an inch, I guess, deeper into the side of the tray. It'll come around, it'll pocket out and shave in 3/1000 of that roughing pass off this inside edge. That way you don't get those nasty tool marks in there. It'll do one pass around it. So we got to change our bit. We're going to remove the roughing end mill because it stores the last bit you did. So we're going to remove this one. And the tools that I mostly use, I buy the Amazon bits. I have several brands of bits. I use some Armana tools. For my regular end mills and stuff, I buy the SPE tool off of Amazon. I use them all the time. They work just fine. So we're going to want to pick our, the bit I'm going to be using is a 1/4 inch down cut end mill. We're going to do it's a 60 inch per minute, which is fine. Actually, I can speed this up, so we're taking off such a small amount. We'll move up to 80, 40 inches a minute on the plunge. 20% step over. That'll give me a decent finish on that. We're going to apply this and select. So we have our new bit in here that we just did. So here's the thing with this, guys. You've got to change your passes. If not, so if I left this the way it is, it would work. But you're going to be cutting air. So the machine thinks that you're going off this surface. It doesn't know, this toolpath doesn't know that this has already been cut out by your roughing mill. So what you got to do is go here to edit passes. We don't want it to make 4 passes. We're only cutting down 3/1000 of an inch. We don't need it to start from the top and just do circles and cut air for that long. So we're going to go to edit passes, and we're going to change this to 1 pass. And then click right here. After you hit 1, hit set passes and hit OK. So now it's just going to go straight down and start hollowing out this wood, start cutting this wood without cutting all the other stuff that's already been cut. I'll do a conventional cut here. Same offset, same as before. I'm not going to ramp this toolpath just because it's cutting such a small amount of material. And then name your toolpath down here at the bottom. So we're going to do pocket underscore 1/4 inch down cut end mill. And we're going to calculate. Okay, so you can see compared to the last toolpath, let me, I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'm on the preview menu. To go to the preview menu, it's right here in your toolpath group. It's this bottom left one right here, preview toolpaths. It pulls you to this. So our roughing, you can see how far apart those lines are because we did a 40% step over on this one, where as opposed to the finishing passes, you can see how much closer they are. And yes, it does take longer to cut it, but like I said, I don't care for sanding. I don't do this for a living. I have time. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather run the machine an extra hour and not have to sand hardly anything on it. So that's why I do it. We'll run a simulation on this so you can see where we're at so far with it. I'm just going to do it on the fast speed here. So you just basically just click your first one and then hit play. And you'll see it because I did an offset. It starts in the middle and it'll work all the way out on us here. I almost need a refill. Alright, so that's the roughing pass. You can see it roughed it down to the 0.57, a little more than a 1/2 inch it went down. And then we're going to click on the pocket And this is just going to do, let me slow it down so you can see what we're doing here. It's going to barely cut in. So you can see there, it's just cutting down that 3/1000 of an inch and getting rid of all these nasty tool marks that the roughing bit left. You can just do an end mill, just do a regular 1/4 inch end mill. It's just going to take a little bit longer, that's all. Let me speed that up a little bit so you can see. And you'll see it when it gets out here to the edge, that's going to come in. It's going to come in and you'll see this whole shape of this star get a little bit wider because it's going to cut that little bit. You see it, I don't know if you saw it there at the last split second, how the whole thing, it just shaved it off. So it took off all those tool marks on this inside pocket here that would have been left otherwise. Alright, so we're going to be moving on into the next tool path, which is going to be our V-carve. I'm going to be using a 90-degree V-bit for this. But I'm also going to be doing a area clearance tool path as well. The reason I'm doing a clearance tool path in here as opposed to just going straight to a V-bit is because I want these inside of these vector lines to be nice and flat. So I'm going to be using a 1/16 inch end mill to go in here. It's basically going to go in here and clean all this out before the V-bit comes in and does the rest of it around the edges and everything else. Normally, if you're doing like an epoxy inlay, it doesn't matter that there's lines inside because they're going to be filled with epoxy. It doesn't make any difference. This one is not going to be filled with epoxy. So I don't want a bunch of little tiny lines inside these vectors from that pointy V-bit. Yes, you can change the step over on a V-bit to be smaller, but it's going to take forever to carve it because the tip of the V-bit is so tiny. That's why I'm choosing in this particular file to do a clearance path, a clearance pass inside this first. So let me show you what I'm doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag, we're going to select everything, we're going to hold the shift key down, unselect the vectors we don't want. So the 3 vectors we don't want, I unselected those. That's leaving just this middle pattern in here. We're going to go back to the toolpath operations here on the V-bit. It's a big V, you can't miss it. You click the V. So our start depth up here is going to be the start of where we left off with our 1/4 inch end mill, which was, what did I write down, 6. So it's going to be 0.60. For our start depth. So that's going to start the bit at the bottom of our tray. If we left this at 0, it's going to air carve. It's going to think that there's been nothing carved out. So if you don't change this, your bit is going to be cutting nothing. And we're going to go down. We're going to do a flat depth on this one. What did I do it at on the last? Let me look here. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it what I did. I did a 1/16 of an inch. That's 0.0625. is a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to do that, and I think that'll be deep enough in the bottom for this this pattern here. Let's see, what bit do I have here? I got the 90-degree. That should be so the only CNC Labs, that's the company who makes my my CNC machine. I have one of their 90-degree V-bits. I actually won it in a contest. So we're going to do 80 inches per minute on the V-bit, and we're going to do pass depth. See, this won't even apply because I'm not going down this deep. So pass depth doesn't matter on this because I'm setting my flat depth. The max that this is going to go is a 1/16 of an inch. So all that looks good. So we got our main V-bit tool selected here. I am, like I said, I'm going to use a clearance tool to clean out these vectors before the V-bit. So we're going to make sure this is the right tool. I'm sure it is because I've already, like I said, already cut this on the other tray yesterday. So let me make sure this is right. Yep, 16th inch bit, 1/4 inch shank, 1/2 inch long. So this is what we want. I ran it at 40 inches per minute with a 30 plunge and a 10% step over. So we'll select that. It's already selected. I did it twice. Go remove one. Same as before, conventional, and we're going to do an offset cut is fine. It is a down cut bit, but like I'm cutting such a small amount, it's probably not really necessary. I'll do I'll just do the ramp the same as what I did before. 0.625. And we got it already named VCarve 1, that's fine, I don't need to change that. We're going to hit calculate. Alright. Alright, so now we got it calculated. We're going to see how this thing's going to look. This is the fun part. So we've already ran the simulation for the roughing and the finished pocket toolpath here. So we'll run the, oops, wrong button. We'll run the VCarve to see how it labels it. So even though it was under one tool, I click VCarve one time, it gives you the option to do clearing and your VCarve all in one path. But it does create two separate tool paths right here. So let's preview and we'll see what this 16th inch, this first one here is only the 16th inch bit. So we'll play and we'll see how it's going to clear that out. Okay, so that's just the clearing path. But you can understand, so if I didn't do this and I only used a V-bit, you would see a bunch of tiny little lines in here from that V-bit going back and forth. That's why I chose to do to go this route with it. So it looks a little bit nicer when it's done. So that's the clearing, and we're going to click on the VCarve, and it'll go through, and let me speed this thing up a little bit. And that's that. Exactly what we want. All right, we'll close out the simulation. And we're going to go back to 2D view. Alright, now we're back in 2D view. We have one more thing we got to do here. We got to cut this thing out. We got the pocket done, we got the design done. And all we got to do left now is a profile toolpath, and that's very easy. So the very first button here is the profile. We're going to click that, and we're going to click this outside vector line, because that's where we want it to cut. Starting at 0, we know what's our depth here. Our thickness of our wood is 830. So we're going to do, let's just do 8. We'll do 840. That'll cut just a smidgen into the wasteboard. I don't care. That's why it's called a wasteboard. So we got that done. Let's make sure we have the right tool here. I'm pretty sure this is already right because this is the one I did yesterday. Yep. So this is my SPE tool. This is an 1/8 inch bit with a 1/4 inch shank, 1 inch in length. Profile pass, it doesn't matter for your step over because we're just doing one single pass. We're going to do it 60 inches a minute, and we're doing an 1/8 inch pass depth. So we're going to apply that and select, and it tells us right here it's going to make 7 passes, which is fine. You can do if you want to go to a 1/4 inch bit, you can, if your machine can handle, obviously, you can cut more. Machine vectors, we're going to cut the outside of this line, so that's already checked. That'll cut out here, not in here. We are going to do a separate last pass. This is the thing that saves on sanding. So we're going to click on do a separate last pass. So after it cuts this shape out, after the bit goes around 7 times, its last pass, you can actually set this right here, the allowance. So if you want it to cut in just a little more to get rid of these tool marks. So as this bit steps down, it's going to leave a little tiny mark in the wood. And if you don't do this separate last pass, it's not a big deal. You just be sanding it, that's all. So for the extra minute that it's going to take, it's better to do it. So we're going to do, we'll just do we'll do 2 thou of a last pass. So after it finishes, it'll bump in 2/1000 of an inch and do a full pass, a full bit length all the way around the thing. I'm using clamps to hold this down, so we are going to add some tabs to it. I've already got the tabs set. They're 1/4 inch in length and their thickness is 0.35. We're going to hit edit tabs, and all you got to do is go around here. You just click wherever you want them. So I want one here, we'll put one here, we'll put one down here, one down here, and that's going to be good enough. And we'll hit close. We do want to ramp this because we are going down a little ways with this bit, so it's already set up in here. I'm doing a smooth ramp, and it's going to come back a 1/4 inch as it ramps into the material. That's fine. So we're going to do profile. We're going to name it. It'll be 1/8. Down cut end mill, and we're going to calculate. Oh, no vectors, my bad. Calculate. So it's just giving me a warning saying that my material thickness is 0.83 and I'm cutting down to 0.84, which is fine. So it just generated that tool path. And what we'll do is we'll preview it and see how it looks. And there it is. Pretty freaking amazing. That should be it for tool pass for this one. We'll get the CNC turned on and hopefully it turns out good. One thing I forgot to mention, guys, is that you need to look at here is, oh, hold on, what the fuck is wrong with this thing? My screen recorder menu is right in the way. Okay, there's cancel. Alright, so one thing you need to make sure before you run a tool path is how you're clamping it. So if you go right here to material setup, it's at the very top of your tool path operations here. Hit set, and right down here at the bottom, this is a super important number right here. So it says Z gap above material. So if you're holding down your workpiece with clamps like I am, you gotta make sure this number in inches is higher than your clamps, because you don't want them to collide into it. I've done it, and you break a bit, or it just sucks. So make sure before you start a job, if you're using clamps that stick up above your material, you have to make sure this number is above your clamps or it'll hit them. If you're using the tape and super glue method, then sure, you can lower this, but I normally always leave this at 1 inch. And that's normally okay for what I'm doing. So let's get over and cut this damn thing out, finally. Alright, so we're going to get this piece clamped down here. Where's my remote go? Oh, there it is. That's why I leave my material slightly bigger if you can, that way it leaves room for clamps. If you have exactly the same size material, then you got to use the blue tape, painter's tape, masking tape with super glue on both sides and stick it down to your table. If you don't, there's plenty of videos out there that show you what I'm talking about. I leave this clamp off the corner just a little bit. That way I can bring my bit down and zero it right here on this corner. So my material is slapped down. It's called, this wood is absolutely freaking gorgeous. It's, I know I'm going to screw up the way you say it. I've always called it Sapele. I know that's not how it's pronounced. The lady at the place I got the boards from, it's pronounced like Sapele or something like that. I guess it's an African mahogany. So that's what I'm carving this into today, and it's going to be freaking sexy. We're going to back this bit back. And I'm just eyeballing this zero. It doesn't have to be, in this particular situation, it doesn't have to be perfect because I have enough material that it's gonna be fine. I don't need to do it where it's pinpoint accuracy where you do if it's certain projects. So I'm not worried about it. I'm just getting it, I'm just eyeballing it close to the center, and that looks pretty good right there. So, all right, so now that I got the bit right where I want it to zero it in that bottom left corner, we know exactly it's where it needs to be. So we're gonna hit right here. I'm in G-Sender. I use G-Sender. It's a program made by CNC Labs who made my CNC machine, but I'm pretty sure it'll work on several different machines if you like it. So we're gonna hit 0x and 0y. So our y and x are now zeroed to that point that I put the bit at there on the table. Alright, so we probed our z-axis only, which is right here on G-Sender. We're going to go back into Aspire and save our tool paths. So I don't have an automatic bit changer or anything, you know, anything fancy like that. So I save my tool paths individually. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the very first tool path, which is our roughing pass. You have to check mark it. You can't just click the roughing. You actually have to put a check mark on it and then click right here, the far bottom right, save toolpath. Save toolpath again. It's going to bring up our files. I'm going to go to desktop and I got G-code posts. So I'm going to make a new folder. I already have one for Christmas tray, so I'm going to do Christmas tray 2. So you can already see it already magically puts the roughing name right in here and hit save. And because it's a different bit, we have to do this one separately. So this is the pocket, this is the roughing bit, this is the standard 1/4 inch down cut end mill. So we're going to save that toolpath. It's already there because I already labeled it. Save it again, same place. Same with the V-carve. This is a 1/16 inch. I should have labeled that. I didn't, but that's a 1/16 inch down cut end mill. We'll save that. That's the clearing, and then the V-carve, 90-degree V-bit. And we'll save that one. And last but not least, the 1/8 inch down cut end mill profile pass to cut the thing out. Save. Alright, so all of our G-code is now saved. Go into G-Sender or whatever program you got. And we're going to go to tray 2, and there's all of our paths. Our roughing is number 1. Open, and there's our first roughing pass. Alright, we already zeroed X, Y, and Z. Let's start this thing up and hopefully it doesn't go crazy on me. And I'm not one of those, I am not one of those guys that do this professionally that don't run dust collection. I see so many videos out there where they don't run dust collection, so you can see the bit carving. I do all kinds of stuff in this room. I reload, I do all kinds of different stuff in this, so I'm not blowing chips and dust all over this room. So unfortunately you're not going to be able to see much of the bit, but that's okay. I'm sure you can use your imagination. And with this bit, you want to set the router, you want to be somewhere around like 14,000 RPMs. So on a Makita router, it's a little over 2, like 2.5 on the rotary dial. My handy dandy dust collector. So I have my dust collector outside this room in my main garage. Alright guys, first roughing passes are done. I'm going to take this bit out and switch over to our second tool path, which was the 1/4 inch down cut end mill, to clean up all this rough cuts here in the bottom. One piece of advice for you guys is if you have a trim router type CNC machine, always take the extra second when you change these bits out to take the nut all the way off and clean this collet out. Make sure there's not all dust packed inside this thing, because you go to change bits, it's not gonna, if there's dust in these things, it's not gonna allow that bit to get pinched in there like it should, and you'll have bit slip. And I've learned that the hard way one time. And there's a huge gouge in my table because the bit came out. So we're going to switch over. SPE tool, down cut. I'm going to give you guys another trick. If you ever get a bit and you forget what's down cut and up cut, all you have to do is twist the bit whichever way the light reflects. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but the light, the reflection is going down. That's how you know. If you twist it clockwise and the reflection goes down, you know it's a down cut. If it's an up cut bit, you twist it the same direction, the reflection will go up. Pretty cool. And the button on this router, this little red button on the back, is not meant to torque down your bit with. You put your bit in, I'm holding the back button back here with my finger just to snug it. You got to use the wrenches. You'll bust that little button off. It's not meant to torque the router bit. Alright, we're going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to bring the touch probe over. And the only thing we have to re-zero is just the Z-axis, the up and down. That's the only thing we got to do, because our Z, our zero for our X and Y is exactly the same. We're doing nothing but changing the tool, so all you got to do is the Z-axis 0, and it'll be just fine. Make sure you ain't got no crud up there so it doesn't mess up your 0. Grab the probe, touch to verify, and on my little P-pad, oh goodness, that was about $14 down the drain. You're gonna hit P for probe. That's how I have my hotkey set up on my little keyboard here. Probed and ready to roll. We're gonna load the next file in here. I'm not gonna pull it up on my computer, but I'll film it so you see what I'm doing. Load file, and we're gonna do the pocket 1/4 inch down cut end mill, and we're gonna open. Don't forget, guys, when you change bits, sometimes you got to turn your RPMs up a little bit. On the regular down cut end mill I just put in, we're going to run that at 17,000 RPM. So that's on number 3 on the Makita router. We should be good to go. Alright guys, tool change number 3. Little tiny 1/16 inch end mill SP tool. It's going to hit the V-carve clear path. Open that one. There's our file. Alright guys, just finished up the tool path for the clearing of the V-bit. You see you got all the nice little flat depths in there. We're going to switch back over to my favorite bit to watch carve anyway. Is a 90-degree V-bit. Alright guys, that tool path finished perfectly. The V carving looks great. I'll show it to you in a minute. The very last tool change is the 1/8 inch down cut to cut the profile out. It turned out pretty good. I head out to the router table, get those tabs cut off real quick. Alright, I use a multi-tool, oscillating tool, whatever you call this thing. There's a couple places on here. I should have set the pass depth for that final pass a little bit deeper into my spoil board. Next time I need to go probably another like 3,000 or 4,000 thousandths down. There's a few places where it just almost didn't make it through there. But we're gonna buzz the tabs off with this. There you have it. Just going to use a flush trim bit on the router there and buzz these little, what's left of these tabs off, and where it didn't cut quite all the way through there. So that was my fault. Should have went just a little bit deeper on that profile pass, but that's okay. No biggie. Alright guys, so I switched my router bit from the flush trim, taking off the tabs. I went to a 1/4 inch round over bit. So we're going to do a 1/4 inch round over all the way around, outside and the inside. Dust collector. Well guys, I screwed up a little bit. Not a big screw up. It was just an overlook. So my plan was to do a 1/4 inch round over all the way around this thing, which was successful. It was fine. But I didn't think my router bit was going to stick up high enough to where I couldn't do the same round over on the inside. So I should have just done it on the CNC machine, which I've done before. I do have a round over bit for the CNC, but normally it's faster to come out here and round it. Normally the trays I've made in the past are deeper than this, so it hasn't been an issue. So this one is just going to be hand sanded around the edges and rounded on the outside. So It is what it is. It's a free gift. They can't bitch too much. All right, just gonna go around with some sandpaper, smooth this edge out, and that's gonna be good enough on this one. One thing I forgot to show you guys, when the V-carve is done carving, I always go around the V-carve with this little brass brush, because getting a piece of sandpaper and there's a pain in the butt. You can go around this little tiny end of this brass brush and get all the little fuzzies out, little pieces that just didn't get cut. But I go around all my V-carves with a little brush before I finish it. So the finish we're going to be using to finish this, it's the Natura, however you say that, one coat. It's got the hardener. You do 3 parts of the oil and 1 part of the hardener. Super easy and it works good. It does darken the wood a lot though, but I like the look of it, so. All right, so I got 3 tablespoons. Is that a tablespoon? What the hell is that? Sorry. 3 half teaspoons. I know that's enough because I've already did it on the other one. Doesn't seem like much, but this stuff really spreads. It spreads a long ways. So then we're gonna do 1 part of the hardener. And try not to mix too much of this stuff because it is pretty expensive. I think that size there, what is that? 275? 275 milliliters, I want to say it was around like $35, but it goes a really long ways. And I'm using just a piece of knockoff Scotch-Brite, white Scotch-Brite. It's Amazon basic brand, I can't remember, but it works just as good as the Scotch-Brite brand does. So pour just a little bit of it on there. Just want to massage the wood. See how pretty that gets? I don't know if you can pick that up. I don't have the best lighting in here. I've got some really nice panel LED lights from our other channel that I need to bring out here, but I didn't bring it out for this one. Basically just let it sit on there for about 3 minutes and then you buff it back off of there. It's crazy how pretty that oil mixed that wood grain. Gotta make sure you smush it all down in those little cracks really good. I'll let it sit after I'm done wiping this down, like I said, about 3 minutes. And you can use a microfiber cloth and kind of get your excess out of there. Some guys use an air compressor and a little blower nozzle and blow it out of there, but I think it's just as easy, honestly, to stick a rag down there and get it out. We're gonna let that chill for a minute. I'm gonna wash my hands. I didn't even read the directions. Who knows? Probably should wear gloves. It's been 3 minutes-ish. Still looks kind of, that's good enough. So clean microfiber cloth, wipe off the excess. You want to try to get up in these corners, guys. Don't try not to let these finishes like puddle up in those corners like that. You don't want it to dry like that. So try to get the bulk of it out of there anyway. Looks pretty darn good. Boy, that wood grain is pretty. I don't know how well that camera's picking that up, but that is absolutely gorgeous. Just gonna leave it up here on the bench tonight. It's I think the box said it takes 24 hours to tack or to somewhat cure, because it says on the instructions you can walk on it after 24 hours. So I'm assuming, I mean, you're doing it like on a floor or something. Full cure time was 7 days on this stuff, but if you can walk on it after 24 hours, I'm sure it's probably pretty damn dry by then. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my very first video. I hope you guys got a little bit of knowledge from it anyway. If you have any questions, comments, anything, reach to me in the comments. I've carved so much cool shit over the years. I wish I would have started filming these sooner. This just happens to be the next thing that I was doing. I decided to film it. So anyway, if you found it somewhat educational, hit me a thumbs up. If you wouldn't mind, subscribe. You might be my very first one, who knows? Like I said, I don't even know what I'm going to name this channel yet. So by the time this video posts in the next day or two, we'll know what it is. Anyway, take care. Till the next one.